We all love a bargain. We all love when we can actually buy something that we want or need, something that usually costs a lot of money for the fraction of the price. Cheap. Also, there's a saying that you get what you pay for, but in this case, in the case of this Viltrox 56mm f1.4 for APS-C Sony cameras, you get something that at least on paper shouldn't be cheap. It is cheap, but is it too good to be true? Keep watching, don't skip to find out. I have reviewed quite a few Viltrox lenses for Fuji, Sony and Nikon cameras in the past. I have and occasionally used several of them and they are really good value for money, but somehow when it came to reviewing another one, this one, I had to really make myself to put it on the camera. It's not because I don't believe Viltrox lenses can actually deliver good quality, they can, but because after a long run of shooting with and reviewing premium and expensive lenses recently, I didn't somehow feel that this lens is exciting enough for me. Reluctantly, begrudgingly, I put it on my Sony A6600 and shot some random pictures with it. These. And OMG, this lens has really surprised me. It's not perfect, far from it, but when it matters, it delivers really good, sharp, punchy results. It got me actually excited shooting with another underdog and a lens that literally is too good to be true. Fun, wide aperture prime, perfect for everyday usage and for pretty much every type of photography and videography. 56mm on APS-C is equivalent to 85mm on a full frame. Telephoto range, and combining that with f1.4 ultra wide aperture and you get this very shallow depth of field, superb subject to background separation and bokeh. This, just like other Viltrox lenses, has got that vintage vibe, not perfect but interesting and full of character. Obviously this is subjective and won't be to everyone's liking, but with so many people chasing that perfect glass and perfect image, we all forget sometimes that photography meant to be fun, and this is fun to shoot with. No surprise, wide open at f1.4 you get crazy amount of chromatic aberration. When shooting towards the light, literally every edge will have purple, green or orange fringing, or all of them visible at the same time. Not that common with ultra wide aperture lenses, even with expensive ones, but this might be a touch on the wild side. The thing is that most people won't even know it is there, and most won't even remotely care. I have seen some crazy as this chromatic aberration visible on Netflix TV shows filmed with stupidly expensive cinema lenses, and it's not a problem. This is something that can only bother you, a photographer, and only you can choose if this is a deal breaker when it comes to choosing this lens or not. I personally don't think it is a big deal with a lens like this. For the price this lens costs, more about that in just a moment, it is a fun lens to be creative with, not a professional workhorse, but if used right, it can deliver really nice results, easily comparable to more expensive primes. Again, not unusual, there is some pincushion visible and some vignetting, but these are not severe and very easily fixable in post. Images are that soft in the corners too at wide apertures. Again, totally expected and not really a problem when shooting wide open. This is not a premium pro lens. It's not perfect, and imperfections make it, in my opinion, more interesting. The autofocus works really well, no issues nailing the focus in the place you want, even at f1.4. The eye tracking works, and generally speaking, the autofocus performance is on par with pretty much any Sony lens that I have ever used before, and I have used a lot of them before. Minimal focusing distance is 60 centimeters, kind of standard for 50mm lens, certainly close enough for close-up photography and for getting close and personal to your subject. But if you look at it as 85mm, which it truly is, it's actually closer than standard. This lens works well for video. Wide open, it has got no issues autofocusing, and the autofocus is almost completely silent. Just as with photography, the video shot with it has got vintage look or vibe going. Many the optical imperfections, that super shallow depth of field and chromatic aberration, make the footage look more like shot with a vintage lens than a modern one, and in some way this can give the video shot with it more of that elusive cinematic look. Build quality, this is a small lens, considering that in reality this is 85mm f1.4 lens. This is very small. It weighs It weighs feather light 290 grams. There's no switches on the lens at all, so you'd have to go through the camera to switch from auto to manual focus. Manual focus ring is large and very firm, pleasure to manually focus with, but as with all modern lenses, formless cameras focus by wire and no hard stops. Small front glass element with 52mm filter thread. Pretty much standard with all Viltrox lenses, manual aperturing. This is clickless and very nicely firm to turn. You can control aperture manually, handy with all A6000 series of cameras, or via the camera when you put it into a auto mode. There is no stabilization built in and no weather sealing. There is macro USB socket on the bottom of the lens for updating the lens's firmware directly via the computer. No need for additional docks. You just plug it in and drag the firmware file to the lens. It shows as a external drive, and then you just drag the file into it. The lens is all made from hard, durable plastic, and it doesn't feel cheap. Not very cheap anyway. Well made and well put together, but this could vary slightly between different copies. Value for money, I think this is the cheapest f1.4 auto-focusing lens that I have ever used. It retails for £217 here in UK or $279 in US. Incredible price for a wide aperture prime. It has got some issues, but overall it delivers very nice and solid results. If you want to dive into the world of primes, this makes it an incredible first lens, a touch better than most budget-friendly ones that I have tried before, one with very well-performing autofocus and ultra-wide aperture of f1.4. All this makes it very good value for money. This price makes it very affordable and could be a spur-of-the-moment purchase that could really surprise you. Conclusion? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect it to be this good. It's one of those lenses that got me excited about shooting with A6600 again. It's a lens that is fun and one that can make you feel good about shooting photos and video with it. It's not a pro lens, and even though it produces crazy amounts of chromatic aberration, it is a decent enough prime with f1.4 ultra wide aperture that can be used in pretty much any type of shooting scenario. I think the samples I have shot with it for this review prove that it is not as bad as a lot of people say or think it is. Perfect first prime when you want something more than a kit lens, and a lens that is joy and fun to shoot with, and the very budget-friendly price makes it really affordable, or certainly worth the risk to see if it suits you and if you like it. I recommend it, but only if you are after a lens that is so imperfect that it is actually perfect for fun photography or filming, when you want that ultra-wide aperture but without spending a lot of money on it. This is it. And this is it from me. I hope this video was in some way informative or entertaining. If it was, please give me the thumbs up. Please follow me on Instagram and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I have reviewed quite few Viltrox lenses for Fuji. Mistakes. I'm out of breath. I haven't even started yet. Reluctantly, begrudgingly, I put it on my Sony A6600 and shot some random pictures with it. Well made and well put together, but this could be very